Good day, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera for us all. In our today's session, I would like to share interpersonal communication among friends or friendship, interpersonal communication. And before we continue, I would like to give out short description on friend or best friend. It is a people or certain person that has certain position in interpersonal relationship. According to Ergal and Henderson, the principles of healthy friendship is balance and equality. These principles would affect on how we treat each other in our friendship, and the healthy relationship of among friends, where the two of the communication participants would consider each other as equal. Yeah. And also, according to Ergal and Henderson, friendship serves several purposes. The first one is sharing purposes, where we share experience to fulfill each other's needs. The second one is to provide emotional support to whom needing it. The third one is to always ready to help, or willingness to help at any circumstances, any time, any kind of moment. The fourth one is to make others happy, to spread out positive vibes. The last one is to help overcoming problem, as one individuals become the solution of others' problem. Stated by Bill Rollin, we have several friendship phases or friendship development stage here. The first one is the role limited interaction. This would become initial contact, where we digs out, search for basic information of one another. Yeah, basic information, for example, is your name, your address, your bio, or your self profile, where you live, who are your parents, how many siblings you have, something like that. This initial contact would flourish or develop to the friendly relation, where the participants' communication are look for similarities or compatibility. For example, you will discuss about your interests, your hobbies. Do you fond of something? Do you hate another thing? Something like that. The friendly relation would moving toward friendship when each participant of communication play certain role. For example, if one of you needing help, that would trigger the other to provide help. This would take roles for you to moving toward friendship. For example, your friend need help with their tasks of the courses. So as a good friend, you will provide solution or help for them. In this phase, the participants also started to open up, disclose themselves to each other. I have a specific analogy from Islam perspective, analogy of friendship that gives out positive and negative vibe. The positive type of friendship, as you were be friends with perfume seller, yeah. In the least amount, you will take their wonderful aroma. Contrary to that, as the analogy of negative friendship, as you were befriend with pandai besi, I can say it's a craftsman, yeah, that create something from iron, yeah. So in the least amount, you will get unpleasant smell from their work. These two analogies describe specifically how friendship impact you personally. If you want to smell good or look good, you would choose the certain friends that remind you of the beautiful things or positive things in this world. Contrary to that, if you dress yourself to look awful or smell awful, then you can choose the friends that would become bad influence for you. In these analogies, I took from hadis riwayat Bukhari Muslim. Uh, a little reminder, simple reminder of positive vibes friendship. It could also enrich the soul, according to Proverbs. Proverbs is Alkitabian. So we have two point of view from Islamic perspective, also from Christianity, that each of them provide us with analogy or comprehension how we would conduct of our friend relation towards others. The second phase of friendship is the nascent friendship, is considered newly made or freshly made. Yeah, it would identify with regular interactions that are arranged. So you make appointment with your new friend to meet up somewhere to do something together. This would become the identification of this phase friendship. The next phase is stabilized friendship. It usually identified with the safe feeling from one another. The safe feeling developed from the mutual trust, whereas you trust each other and you can provide appropriate feedback to one another. Uh, we also have some sayings that, as you can see on your screen, there are friends, there is family, and sometimes there are friends that become family. I assume that some of you would experience it in the near future, especially for you who decided to move to Yogyakarta, separated from your family, lives in other city or other provinces. The people that you interact regularly or on daily basis, who is your friend, sometimes they become closer than your family itself. Yeah. So these people are considered as treasure in your personal relationship because sometimes they are more important than your family. Basically, because your interaction with each other on daily basis. Yeah. The last relationship phase is the warning friendship, usually identified with conflict. The conflict could also be initiated by trust that has been violated. Yeah. Or sometimes, in some cases, both of you are having different point of view, or maybe even the same interests. For example, you like the same person. This would become a problem if both of you decided to insist on your opinion and no one back down. So this would become the last phase of your relationship. It is determined by what are your intention to this friendship. Would you like to continue to flourish the friendship, or would you like to exterminate it or to end the friendship? Uh, I took an example of toxic friends. Yeah. I took it from republica.co.id. These types of friends need to be avoided because it could give negative impacts to yourself. The first would be identified as the user, yeah, sorry, because they are manipulative, they are self-centered, they use you to fulfill their needs. And once their needs are fulfilled, they would be on their way. Yeah. So they not considers you anymore as their friend. The second one is the leech. The leech in Indonesia is lintah, ya. Parasitic friend. They become too dependent on you. They can go on their daily activities without you. And sometimes we need our me time to maintain the healthy friendship. The leech doesn't really care about that. So you need to take care of yourself first, yeah, in this certain kind of situation when you are encountering with the leech. The third one is the drama queen. The drama queen is actually applied to all of the genders, yeah, women or men. This type of friend usually and constantly seeking for attention and needing for your attention as their friend. This would be also considered as a self-centered person when their need or their need, yeah, is not fulfilled. They sometimes they would playing as they would take role as the victim or known as playing victim, yeah. because you couldn't provide their needs, so they would, yeah, as I said before, playing victim. The fourth one is the energy absorber, whereas this type of friend always complain, always take negative spin on everyday life, and the follow up of the negative friend of this energy absorber is the two criticizing friend. The negative friend and the two criticizing friend usually on the same level. In one side, they manage to find any negativity in anything, yeah, and they put their perspective to value this kind of negativity. They would become too critical, yeah. Actually, this type of friend are having personal insecurities and they are projecting it to something else around them, maybe to you, to simple stuff, or on daily activities, in anything. The six types of friend is the gossip hound. They usually talk about you behind your back. They inform your secrets to others, and that would be fatal. And the last type of toxic friend is the rebel, literally a bad influence for you because they ask you or they encourage you to do negative things that also has negative impacts for you and for your friendship. Uh, Next, I would like to describe another friendship phases that generally divided into three phases. The first phases is initial contact or acquaintanceship. I'm sorry. And the very first phase of friendship development, it has not shown effective interpersonal communication character. For example, openness and trust. Yeah, they still search or digs out for basic information one another. Yeah, if this developed well, that this would become casual friendship. There's a dietic awareness, kesadaran bersama of us, yeah. So the friends pair are not considered as me and you, but it considered as us. Where do we go now? What we want to do? Nah, kita mau kemana nih? Kita mau ngapain? Something like that. It usually identified with inside jokes, jokes that could only be understood with or by the two of you. Yeah. The last phase is the close and intimate friendship. A best friend is usually come up as exclusive unity. So you and her or him are considered a pair yang tidak, pasangan yang tidak bisa dipisahkan. Your other friends would identify you as a pair. Yeah. In this phase, each of you are more using the nonverbal communication. You can feel each other's mood. You can grasp each other feeling by identifying their hand gestures, their eye movement, their bodily gestures, yeah. So you identify yourself not on the word spaces, but also in the bodily gestures spaces. Here I have several competencies that are required in friendship. The first is the initiation as in the beginning of the friendship is a competence to develop very early contact and very early efforts to gather basic informations. The second competence is to listen attentively and give out proper response as a feedback. As you develop this second phase, and you will be moving on to the third phase, which is self-disclosure. So you disclose yourself to one another, yeah. You express how you feel. You state what is in your mind. And as the self-disclosure flourish or develop, uh, in some of the time, maybe one of you would be needing some help or support. And it has become the duty of the other participants to give out emotional support, to become attentive listener in this personal sharing session, ya. Cari teman curhat, mendengarkan dengan sebaik-baiknya. And the last competence is how to manage a conflict. It is really up to you whether you want to maintain this friendship. So you will minimalizing the conflict itself to return your friendship status as before you had conflict, or you want to end it because you consider that this friendship is no longer fulfilling for you, then you will exterminate this friendship. You would ignore the conflict, and finally you are agree to disagree, to go on separate ways. Uh, Here I have several aspects that hinder or gives out negative impacts for friendship, but it is always there. It is unavoidable. First, we have differences of opinion, but of course, we are uniting two heads, yeah, two different personalities that usually quite challenging, yeah. So we will always have differences of opinion. If these phases are not developed carefully, that will lead into misunderstanding. And if these misunderstandings are not communicated appropriately, uh, each participants will become self-centered. Yeah, they let the ego talks. They let the ego shows. So they dominate their friends. And if the ego is talking, sometimes they would intently hurt one another, yeah, by breaking their trust, by announce their friend's secret to the world. This would be fatal for the friendship itself. Next, I have two factors that affecting friendship positively or negatively. The first is gender, whereas female consider a meaningful relationship from the openness in conversation, and they share their personal feelings. Contrary, male would consider friendship is valuable where they provide help to each other. Yeah. So the female is on emotional side, yeah, openness of communication, while the male is on practical side, whereas they provide help help for one another. If this relation from different gender are maintained in the most neutral way, you would develop the platonic relationship. Platonic relationship is purely on comprehension and acceptance. Yeah, it did not need to develop into the more romantic way with physical or sexual attraction, because platonic is basically maintaining a relationship of people with different gender in the most neutral way. The second factors that affecting friendship is culture. As we saw in front of our screen, we have the collectivism and individualism. The collectivism usually practiced in the Eastern Hemisphere of the world, Asian regions countries, Asian region countries. They are focusing in collective harmony. Yeah. So we usually repress our feeling, our ideas, as long as the group harmony is maintained. Well, the individualism is usually practiced in the Western Hemisphere of the world, or the Western region countries, for example, Europe or North America. They valued self-appreciation more than group harmony. So if these difference in culture are not managed properly, would become shock culture, ya, kekar budaya. As maybe you've heard from the course of multicultural communication, yeah, you will heard several istilah or statement, adaptation or acculturation, yeah. To avoid it, shock culture, we need to adapt ourselves within the culture that we are included in, or we need to practice acculturation. Yeah. And here we have several types of friendships. The first is reciprocity. It is a reciprocal or mutual relationship based on completing each other, mengisi satu sama lain, memberikan feedback yang proper. The second is receptivity, whereas there is unbalance in giving or taking. Yeah, one gives out too much, and the other one is takes out too much. So we have no balance here. The last type of friendships is association. It will be identified in friendly manners, yeah, as maybe you will be having in the future where you become part of corporation or you become a professional, yeah? You maintain association type of friendship with your colleague. So you keep your distance proper enough, but you remain friendly because you didn't want to offend each other, yeah. But you also develop the not intense or not intimate kind of friendships. The last slides of this session is the friendship in Islam and friendship in Japanese culture. They in here from two different perspectives are focusing in the same idea that we need to be careful to choose the person that we are interact with intimately, yeah. Because according to hadis riwayat Bukhari Muslim, the best companions in the sight of Allah is the most kind to his friends. Yeah. So we need to provide everything with no consideration of material matters, yeah, financial matters. So we are supporting our friends all out. As we understand that friend or best friend is a person that we interact with intimately. So we need to take a good consideration of who is the person that we choose to become our friend. The main consideration would be the factor of morality or ahlak, according to hadis riwayat Tirmizi. Similar to this notion, I have some kind of statement in Japanese culture. Ocho cedak kepu kupa. This would be understood as do not approach buffalo that is soaking in mud to avoid the mud splashing. Also take notion on cautions in choosing friends. Yeah, if you choose the untrustworthy one or the negative one, their mistakes or their problem would be affecting you in the future. Yeah, the splashing of the mud. So we need to wisely choose who would become our friend. The last or the closing notes of this material that we are the sum of the 5 people that we are close to. So make it count. Our personality, our mindset, our attitude and behavior usually affected by the 5 person we are close with. Yeah. So we need to take good consideration of whom we let it in our life because they are matters. Their relationship, their mindset, their attitude, their behavior would affect us in any other way. And so we need to take a good consideration of these 5 people, the 5 person that we are closest with. I believe that would be all for today's material. Thank you for joining me in this session of interpersonal communication course. I will be seeing you in the upcoming course. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera for us all.